Hi, everyone. I'm Rhonda Ellis.
And I'm Melissa Sutton. And this is Cultivating a Home,
the podcast. This is a place where we will talk about what really matters. Growing in our walk with Christ, building strong marriages, raising our children with intention, and creating peaceful, life-giving homes centered on Him.
We'll share practical encouragement, real-life stories, and biblical truth to help you cultivate a heart and home that reflects Jesus. New episodes are every Thursday, so let's step into today's conversation together. Thanks, everybody, for joining us again today. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here and listening week after week. We appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about laughter in the home and loving the people in our home well. And a verse that we wanted to share is Proverbs 17:22. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Rhonda, in thinking about having laughter in our home and loving the people in our home well, what are some things that you can talk to us about?
Loving well means teaching, caring for, nurturing. It means discipline. And it also means the tone that we set in our home is so important. And laughter is so critical in our homes. And so today, I thought it would be really neat and very helpful to kind of take a self-examination here of what is the tone in our home? Is there laughter? Are the kids walking around on eggshells? And are we doing things in our home knowingly or unknowingly that might provoke our kids to wrath, which of course is the opposite of laughter in the home? And I wanted to start by saying one of the best things that we can do as moms is to really study our kids, study what makes them upset, what their insecurities are, study what their strengths are, what makes them laugh, what they enjoy doing, what sets them off. Just really take the time to study them and know them, because our parenting per child will be different based on that. We all know that some kids you can just say, I said not to do that, and they will immediately obey and even be crushed in spirit. Then you learn you could even say it more softly than that to them. You can just look at them and they obey because their heart is more tender. And then there's others that you have to discipline differently because maybe they're more stubborn. It's really important that we take inventory of our kids, not for the point of embarrassing them or shining weaknesses to the family and to people outside of our home, but for the purpose of us really nurturing, loving, and caring for them and delighting in them and even laughing with them. And so I think that's super important that we all do that. And then examining ourselves, let's talk about the eggshell test. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Do your kids walk on eggshells? Now, I want us to each think about ourselves right now.
Yeah.
Not our spouse, not, oh, I know somebody like that. But let's do a real examination here. When you walk into the room, does the demeanor shift? Or when they walk into a room where you are, does their tone, does their facial expressions, their body language change? That's worth really thinking about, because we provoke our kids to wrath. And Ephesians 6:4 is a verse that gives us that warning. Fathers, provoke not your kids to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. This is important for us to be intentional, to not provoke, but to do the opposite, to really pay attention to who they are, how God's uniquely made them, and to nurture them, to mold them, to pour into them, to love them and delight in them. You know, Melissa, there was a time when I remember my teenage son stopping me in my tracks. I was having a day where I suppose I was really showing my frustration about who knows what. But what I do remember is he said, "Mom, if you don't like kids, why'd you have so many?
Yikes.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Now, let's be clear. I love my kids and I really loved being with them, but it kind of shook me because I thought, wow, look at what I am communicating through my words, my body language, my behaviors. That would be a day that I probably taught the kids to walk on eggshells.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who needs to change?
Mm-hmm.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
My actions, my reactions. Most likely the kids did things that, warranted some frustration in me, but I still own my behavior, my reactions, my responses, and I can change those things, especially with the Holy Spirit living in me, where He pricks our heart and He says, don't do it.
Yeah.
Rhonda, think about those words. They're going to wound. Don't. And I can choose to have self-control and listen to Him, or I can choose to just press right through and do what I feel like doing because I'm mad. And that's the kind of check we want to do with us in the Holy Spirit. We want to just ask the Lord, can you search my heart and show me if there's any wickedness in me? Show me if there's ways, or not if, but show me the ways that I wound my kids with my words, with actions that I do. Will you show me when kids are walking on eggshells around me? And I wanted to talk about some of those ways that we could provoke our kids to wrath. I remember when I heard this for the first time, this concept that parents can provoke their kids, I was shocked. I just never thought about the ownership that we have in creating an atmosphere of hurt and wounding them and the eggshells. So here's just a couple. Constant criticism. Instead, look for opportunities to affirm effort and their character. And then there's us having unrealistic expectations, meaning beyond a child's age. We're expecting them to do things they can't do. Maybe we're telling our little 4-year-old that has trouble with being able to do more than 2 steps in a row. We're giving them 5 things, and we're so frustrated with them. And yet we've not taken the time to observe our child and realize, you know what? They just need one thing to do at a time. It doesn't mean they're being disobedient. They really cannot remember that. Of course, that's going to vary from child to child. That's why we study and know our children. And maybe the unrealistic expectation is their ability or their maturity, or their ability to understand. And oftentimes we have not done our part of mentoring or coaching or explaining how to do something. For example, we might get upset with our kids for not washing the windows the way we want them to. And they leave, you could tell when there's dirt still on the window. Well, have you ever taken the time to show them which type of material to use to wash the windows? Have you ever showed them what you would like? And I also want to say, let's make sure our expectations aren't ridiculous. There's only one way to do things.
Yeah.
That also provokes children to wrath. But the reality is, if we want to see through our windows, they might need to know some training.
Yeah.
Right? And
for
so
sure.
just teaching them. And then the next time, gently teaching them again. And you're just beside them, teaching them. That can go for everything from mowing a yard to the way you like gardening, to making a meal, to setting a table, or whatever goes on. Let's make sure there's not just one way to do things, but the goal is in mind. The goal is to see through the windows.
Yeah.
And that we're just gently being a mentor to them.
Yeah.
And so having unrealistic expectations really provokes kids to wrath. And instead, expect the growth to happen as you are gently mentoring and guiding them. Another one is public embarrassment. Correcting, mocking, shaming, those things wound deeply. They wound their dignity.
Yeah.
And instead, correct privately and respectfully. So there's a lot of other things that we do, and we'll talk about that at some point. But I want us as parents to think, do inventory. Are there ways that I am provoking my children to wrath that I can change? I have ownership in this. And are my kids walking on eggshells? What can I do to be loving and nurturing in our home, and that the kids feel safe. They feel like I'm consistent. I'm the same person showing up every day. I'm predictable, and I'm kind and loving.
And I like what you said about that's going to take a little bit of an examination of yourself and knowing each individual kid that you have.
Yes. And some questions to help us to think about this, to do this examination. Does my child feel safe talking with me? Just think about it. Think through each of your children. Do they come to you and open up to you? And maybe you might think, oh, well, one does, but one doesn't. That's important. Lord, give me insight. Give me supernatural insight, wisdom. Show me how to love that child individually, to have their heart. Give me creative ideas. I remember praying this over in different situations with our kids. And one time it was, Rhonda, just when you put those kids in bed at night, sit on that child's bed and just sit quietly and rub his feet and just allow space for him to think and talk, and just do that night after night. And he'll open up little by little. And I did that. So we can get our creativity from the Lord in having our children's heart. So think through, does my child feel safe talking to me? And then, am I trying to take control of them or be controlling to them? Or am I training or coaching them? Also, do I apologize when I have hurt my child? First of all, do I recognize when I've wounded them? Or do I always think it's just their fault? Get over it. And do I apologize to them? And lastly, an important question to ask, would your kids say, my parents enjoy being with me? And that might be like I explained how my son said that to me. On that day, I had apologizing to do. But overall, my kids know I enjoy being with them. But if you can't say that, then this next part will really help, because laughter in the home and being safe and nurturing with your children will help your kids to absolutely know their parents delight in them.
Yeah, that's so important. What about maybe the way that you need to get some laughter back in your home is to put down your to-do list and to put down just what you're wanting to do and kind of pivot a little bit and maybe be a little bit more spontaneous. I think that is easier for some people than others, maybe a personality situation. But for somebody who might have a hard time with that, what could you say to speak into that?
I can relate to that. I have changed in this area somewhat, but early on when I had just a few little kids, I had a planner and I had a to-do list. And although we were very productive, they were little, and we made sure we did academic things and we did craft things and people skills stuff. I had a list. They were going to be well-rounded, but it hit me that I was too intense and too serious. So you know what I put on my to-do list? Laugh.
Yeah.
And so I would put that on my list for the day, many, many days, until it became part of a rhythm and part of me. And so that's crazy. But if someone's like that, where you're productivity oriented and you have your to-do list, not that everybody's like this, but for me, and I know for some of the listeners, you can relate, it's time to laugh, and put that on your list so you can check it off. We laughed today.
Yeah.
But that meant we would do silly things. It might be that it would rain outside and I'd say, hey, let's go out and jump in puddles. And first, when you do something like this, spontaneous and random, they're going to have big old eyes looking at you like, what?
Yeah.
But it is fun. And take the time to laugh with your kids.
Yeah. Maybe just instead of, doing everything that you had on your list, join them in what they're doing. That's fun.
Absolutely. There's been so many times when, let's say I'm in the kitchen cooking and I hear like maybe one of my kids or a couple of the kids are playing a game on a TV screen, and I pause and I put down the wooden stirring stick, turn the food on low, and I go, "Hey, can I play?" Now, did I really want to play? No, I did not. But it was my effort to begin to enter their world and be a fun mom. In fact, I still do this today where when I see things on social media where moms or dads are doing fun things with their kids or with their whole family, I'll put hashtag fun mom alert or hashtag fun dad alert. I mean, I enjoy that now because I think it's incredible. It's such an important dynamic to laugh in your home and to make fun memories with them. And I think you're so right about pausing what we're doing and entering their world. And that's people over things.
Yeah.
And your kids need to always know they're more important than a project or than a thing.
Yeah. And being willing to be interrupted is also something that I think that we have to learn, really.
Yes.
What about times where there might be a season in someone's family where there's not a lot of laughter because of the seriousness of what's going on?
Yes, I can relate to that very much. And I'm sure many of our listeners have walked through hard times. And during the intense season one of the intense seasons that we walked through as a family, it was when my daughter Kelsey was going into high school and she had a traumatic brain injury, which was, for us, it was 2 years of her brain healing. And so during that time, there was sporadic behavior that was actually kind of frightening. And it scared her. It scared all of us. And it was just part of what we had to walk through. And at that time, we didn't know if there was going to be healing completely.
Yeah.
And I remember a chair that I would sit in our den. I would just sit there and it was the chair for me. And I would just have my Bible open. And sometimes I couldn't even read it. It was open and I was saying, Lord, I can't even make my eyes are moving across the page, but I can't comprehend a thing because of the weight of just being in survival mode and caring so deeply for your child and what she's walking through and caring for the other kids in the family to protect their heart from being scared and wanting to train them to have empathy, to know how to love unconditionally, to know how to adapt and to encourage and support. All of that is going through my mind. And just like any mom, you're thinking about all the different dynamics. Well, there was a deep peace through this time because I knew I could trust the Lord. And there was also a joy in my heart. Like, I really loved the Lord. Those things were like simultaneously happening in my heart. But because of the seriousness of just leaning on the Lord for this, what I hadn't realized is the degree that laughter was gone. Now, it doesn't mean the kids were walking on eggshells with life.
Right.
But here's what happened. One day as I was sitting in that chair, and this was getting towards, we were maybe a year and a half through this, and one of the younger sisters came in the room and said something. Don't remember what it was, but when she said it, I turned towards her and I went, oh, I just laughed a little bit. And she looked startled and she jumped backwards. And that showed me how laughter was not prevalent in our home during that time. There was joy. We still did things together. But the laughter, the full out belly laugh was beginning to emerge. And her jumping back like that was a sign to me that the journey was lifting a little bit. And that also was a sign to me it's time to be intentional, to add laughter. Again, we had peace through the unknown. I had a joy and a trust in my heart for the Lord. But the laughter, there are seasons that the laughter is put aside. And then we began to, add things back that showed the laughter, the games, the fun, and all of that.
Yeah, sometimes you have to choose joy and kind of reflect a little bit on the atmosphere. And even though that was a heavy season, you can change the atmosphere and maybe lighten up a little bit, really try to cultivate. See what I did there? Cultivate some positivity.
Yeah.
But that takes kind of giving a overview of the atmosphere and an overview of the home and say, we haven't done anything fun. We haven't done anything that lightens the mood and where we laugh, even though what we're going through is really heavy.
Right.
There has to be that too.
Let's make sure that everyone in the family is being tended to and that there's laughter.
And balance.
Yeah. So let's think about things that we could do, like, hey, everybody, let's build a fort and read books with flashlights in it.
Yeah.
I mean, silly things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to take maybe some creativity and just some time, again, to kind of just look at what's going on in your home and say, what can we do to make this a little bit of more of a lighter situation, even though we're not going to dismiss the fact that what we're going through is really, really hard.
Yes.
We can still bring in joy and laughter.
Yes. And then, it wasn't much after that where I noticed genuine belly laughter was happening in our home. And I just think those are seasons that God takes us through, that you can see there's a time for laughter, there's a time for mourning. And so whichever season those of you listening are in, be mindful of expressing that joy in the Lord it could be through praise music in your home where you're dancing in the kitchen with your family with spatulas in hand and a can opener going bzz, 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 or whatever, that you are just adding a degree of lightness to your family.
Speaking of seriousness, sometimes people have the personality too that maybe are a more serious personality or take themselves too seriously. What can we all need to grow in this. What can we do to maybe try to not take ourselves so serious and let that be an example to the rest of our family as well?
I think there's one thing is sharing openly about stories of ourselves. We're sitting at the dining table or all sitting around with our family in the den, and we're just together. Let's be intentional to share funny stories. Maybe they're embarrassing stories to us.
Yeah.
But our goal is to add laughter in the home, to be able to laugh at ourselves. But in so doing, we're teaching our kids, don't take things so seriously. Don't be insecure about things, because what can happen is if we take ourselves too seriously, and that is the culture within our home, then that can manifest itself through time in our kids. It's to them being highly sensitive, to being insecure about different things. But when we teach them and we role model, we're laughing at our own faux pas.
Yeah.
And then we're also teaching them how to handle things that could potentially be an embarrassing situation, like literally talking with them about it.
Yeah.
For example, when one of our girls first wore high heel shoes, she was little. I'm not talking about stilettos,
right?
But they wore heels that you're like, there's a chance they could fall. And so you're like, hey, when you wear those, if you fall, what can you do? You just get up and laugh at yourself. Like say, whoa, like, whoa, Nelly.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Just, hey, that was a pretty good fall, wasn't it? Or just laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself so seriously. And then that quality, hopefully lasts a lifetime, because it's just part of the culture that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, telling stories about ourselves is important. Here's a couple things I've told my kids to demonstrate laughing at myself. Now, I was in middle school, and this absolutely was not funny at the time.
Nothing in middle school is.
It's a traumatic time all the way around.
Yeah.
But we were in the locker room, which is horrific.
Totally.
That's traumatic for everybody.
Just the word locker room.
Yes. Oh. And some girls were showing how high they could kick their leg. And so I thought I would do it. And you know what happened.
Oh, no.
I kicked my leg up. To me, it was so high in the air. It probably was not, but I fell. And that was embarrassing. But I got up and hopefully I laughed about it. I don't remember how I responded.
Yeah.
But another time also in middle school, my neighbors and a lot of my good friends had gold necklaces or actually, I think they might have been silver necklaces, but they looked like a chain. Well, we could not have that. I could not afford that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put paper clips together. Melissa.
Friend.
And I wore them.
Mm.
And I don't know. So I told my kids, I thought nobody would notice that I too had a chain necklace.
Literally.
Paper.
You never know. You could have started like
I
a
could have
trend.
started a trend.
I think you did.
If I had more confidence, I probably could have. But I told my kids this and we just laughed, and so we're laughing at myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we want our kids to be able to do that with us and with each other. And their siblings should also laugh with, not at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing about laughter is we should never allow laughter at anyone's expense in our home. If you know, because you've studied your children, that one is sensitive, let's say someone is sensitive to maybe they're a teenager and they're on the petite side, and you do not want one of their siblings to say, you're all skin and bones.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want your husband to say, hey, if you get a massage, you only have to pay half price because of the child being on the petite side and thin. If you know that for that child, that is a real insecurity that they have a struggle, we would want to build them up and not tear them down.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to know how each child is wired. And we also need our children within our home to be careful what their words are and not ever laugh at anyone's expense.
Yeah, for sure. That's really good. And you can't give, what is that saying? You can't give what you don't have. And so when we're talking about, the atmosphere and being lighter and choosing joy, and we always want to come back to examine ourselves and what kind of tone are we bringing into the situation and into our home as far as not being so heavy, and to always bring laughter back into a situation, choose joy, cultivate positivity.
That's very true.
Thank you, Rhonda. That was so good today. We appreciate your time and all your advice.
We're so thankful for you, Melissa, and thank you for listening, everyone. Share with your friends.
Bye, everybody.
And remember, a joyful heart is good medicine. Good medicine, a joyful heart.
Thanks for spending this time with us today. We hope you're walking away encouraged and equipped with something simple you can put into practice right where you are. Remember, it's the small, faithful choices that shape the atmosphere of your home. So wherever you are today, keep cultivating hearts and homes for Christ.